Alright, and we are back. We painted a Waves 1. I'll show you that one on the screen here. And then we painted the puddle. I'll show you that one on the screen. So my verdict on the Waves was that's probably going to be the best one that I enjoyed to do. However, it's extremely repetitive. What I have on the screen here is water. How to paint water. So this is base coated with Utrecht acrylic. I switched from golden. Golden has a big color shift, and the problem is if it's a lighter color it shifts less. So for example, I was using like a yellow, it would shift less than cobalt blue, which would shift less than the browns. So when you try to mix them together, I didn't know exactly what type of shift we were looking at. So I switched to Utrecht. Utrecht has almost no shift. So, and it's cheap. It's a nice acrylic color. I like it. So this is Utrecht. What you see is what you get, which is what you need on this. When you base coat on this, you need to be very careful because whatever you base coat is what you're stuck with. He does go lightly over this area here, but if you're way off, you're not going to get it. You're going to have to redo it. Same with here. He does go over this, but again, if you're way off and you start putting in these little patterns, then you're going to have an issue. So we're done with video 2. I decided not to film after video 1 because all it was just a little, looked like a map of Florida or something, I don't know. So I didn't want to film all that. So after video 2, here's what we got. You're basically drawing every line with some of the blues. So he does guide you. Some of the lines start off really thin, then they get thicker, and they get thinner. If you can master that, thumbs up, yours is going to look really good. It took me a while. I had to get this, move it aside, get a piece of paper, and start practicing like the thin, thick. And once I got it down, then I put this back on the palette and started doing it. So mine looks pretty good compared to what it did in the beginning, which was like up here. So these right here look really good compared to the start. I highly recommend on this one that you get a piece of paper and practice your lines and make sure that you can get that thin, thick. You can get the curvature that he does. You're going to be very happy. You're going to be, I mean, this looks pretty good. You're going to be happy if you can get that. If you don't practice that, you're not going to be happy because it's going to look weird. So you're best off to get some practice in before you go to the real thing. And so far I'm pretty pleased with it. It's only 5 videos. It does take you a while, so be prepared to spend probably 10 hours on this. So I am about 2.5 hours in, and that's double the time of the video. The problem I'm having, you have to pause the video, do what he did, because if you just go along with him, you're going to get way behind. Anyway, having fun so far. I will see you at the end of video 3. And we are done with video 3. Very formulaic. Put this line here, put that line there. So, not a lot of mystery or not a lot of things to mess up in this, luckily. So, put that line here, put that line there. This area, I have no idea if it looks okay because he never zooms out of the close-up. So I'm never really quite sure if that looks alright or not. And this area needs to be more solid. I need more defined lines in there. One of the biggest problems I'm having is he uses fast dry alkyd paints and I'm using regular paint. So when I'm coming back into some of these areas, it's picking up a lot of the black under layer. So I'm not getting the greatly defined whites that he is getting. So what I'm going to have to do is let it dry overnight I think I'm done. I only have 2 more hours to go, so I'm going to save 4 and 5 for tomorrow. And when I come back tomorrow, I'm going to go over these white lines that should be bright, bright white right here and right here. And I'm just going to redo them. So overnight, let it dry, you know, just let it sit, and then get my defined whites, because that's the biggest problem I'm having right now, is my paint dries slower than his. Therefore, when he's coming back 30 minutes later, he has a tacky paint and I don't. So, but I'm not going to use his alkyd paints because they look fairly toxic and a lot of warnings on them. I'd rather use my Blue Ridge oil paints, which are completely non-toxic, and then use my my non-toxic solvent over here, made out of D-limonene, and then my non-toxic oleo gel or solvent-free gel from Gamblin, or oleo gel from Natural Pigments. I've been comboing both of those. So overall, I'm pretty happy with the painting so far. I think it looks great. I just need to wait a period of time. I recommend, if you do this, do your black underlayer and your blue underlayer, and then let it dry overnight, or let it dry a couple of days and come back to it. Unless you're doing his paint, quick dry paints. If you're doing regular paint, give it some time. You're going to be a lot happier person once you finish that section, once you do that method. My opinions if you're using slow dry. Anyway, let's see you tomorrow after we finish video 4. And here we are at the end of video 4. Definitely not as quick and easy as I thought it was going to be, but that's okay. I'm not getting the performance out of this brush as I thought I would be. It's a 2055 fan. The sides of mine are, let me get a focus on this. The sides of this are fraying off, like right here. So I have been clipping it with the nail clipper, but it's still fraying. So when you hit the canvas, it makes a weird mark that doesn't look like his. So maybe I just need to flatten this out and trim a couple more hairs. I don't know. But overall, I think it looks pretty good. I'm not getting the little marks over here that he does, so definitely a tool thing or misunderstanding from what I'm doing. So overall, I'm pretty pleased with it. This is not something that's going to look perfect in the end, but I think it's okay. So the little dots in here don't look exactly right compared to his, but they're random dots, so I don't care. Some of the green goo in the water doesn't look as good as what he has. I think I did a bit too much of a straight line here with that. I should have randomized it a bit more, but I don't think overall it's going to hurt anything. So not something I'm willing to screw around with. I think it looks okay for now. So overall, I think the transition between here and here looks a bit weird. I'm not very pleased with it. I think it just suddenly turns into sort of a different murky color. So what I think I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to get some of this color and I'm going to put it up in here, like really light glaze, so that you sort of get the hint of that color coming. It seems like it just suddenly turns from one color to a different color just all of a sudden, and that's not good for what I want. So I'm just going to do a slight glaze of that here in a few minutes. And then we'll move on to part 5, or video 5, which is the reeds coming out of the water here. And then I think we should be done. So next video I will be done, and I'll give a conclusion and what I think about it, and we'll go from there. Alright, we are done. I'll wait until it's dry to sign it. Oh, that area needed work. I'll tell you what I completely screwed up is this right here. These little sections coming down, they should be curving up. So they should be going from here and curving up. But I did not know that because he is super zoomed in to the painting. So he never really zooms out like you're like right here. So that's all you see. So he never really goes and like zooms way out and says, okay, you know, curve up. So you just get that one little blotch when he does it. So make sure before you do that that you look at the final reference and ensure that yours is curves, unlike mine. This was relatively easy. This black part, that needs to be dry before you do the reeds, and the blue needs to be dry before you do the reeds, or you will have a miserable time. I had to go over almost like 8 to 10 times on some of these just to get the color to where it didn't look like the background. So, and when it dries, I'm going to go back and put a little more permanent green, you know, the bright neon green in there, because it's a little dull. So overall, I like the lesson. I think this was pretty easy. It's very formulaic, right? It's like this goes here, that goes there, that goes there. So if you follow the formula, it's actually very easy. So overall, I'm very pleased with this lesson. I posted it to my social media and it blew up. So quite a few comments on this one. Everybody likes this one. So if you want to get a good starter painting off of his course, this is going to be the one, in my opinion. It's not too difficult. It's fun. And it's very formulaic. If you follow what he does and do it like he does, you'll come out with a successful painting. So overall, very happy with it. And that is my conclusion. Thanks for watching this episode. Thank you, Michael James Smith, for a wonderful school. You have launched my realism from almost zero to quite a bit better. Thanks.